thank you all for coming, and if you're tuning into this after the fact, thank you for watching our meetings. We do appreciate it. We're going to start tonight's meeting with agenda item number 2, which are the warrants, and we have Stanley with the general fund.
I have the general warrants for 12/2/19. There's 73 invoices for $29,485.02.
I think it's 83.
483,
Yep.
you're right. And the range is from $5.99 at the hardware store. And the salt was $9,903, 4 invoices for salt. We had Green Mountain Power with 9 invoices for lights, street lights, building lights for $2,731. Life insurance, 6 invoices for our employees, $1,398. Dental, 9 invoices for $240. So the rest was just scattered in the remaining 50 invoices, different sums of money. Is there a question? No?
No, that sounded really high. I think that also includes short-term disability.
The,
Lincoln.
yeah.
Yep. That number just sounded high to me at first.
Yeah, there was one with like $200 and something and the rest were way down. I didn't.
It's per employee a charge,
Yeah.
so that one's, the DPW consistently is very expensive. We love you guys though, especially in the winter time.
I didn't see anything that jumped out, so
Yep.
based on that, I would make a motion to approve the invoices for $29,483.02.
Excuse me.
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you for all your work on that. We appreciate it. And we have Jessica as our warrants to pay our people, payroll warrants.
Okay, 2 payroll warrants. The first one's November 22nd, 2019 for $19,608.76. And the second is November 29th, 2019 for $34,504.96. So I'll make a motion to approve these payroll warrants.
Second.
Okay, any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. So I have a folder here full of warrants ranging. I'm gonna do them all in one shot if that's okay. So I have the impact fee account warrant dated December 2nd, 2019 for $7,817.50 to Wright Excavating, and that was to pay for 118 feet of sidewalk on Fairfield Street. So we've got that, and I have another. I have an industrial park account warrant dated December 2nd in the amount of $251.85 to Drumac for some jetting. That makes sense. And then we have the infrastructure development account, which of course is where all our local option tax revenues go, and this is the thick one. And I want to make a point because I saw online on social media in a couple different places this weekend, people were talking about the pool and a couple other local municipal topics, and I had a couple people that I had seen who said, well, hey, we haven't gotten the bill for the new garage yet, why don't we pay for that and then worry about a pool? I want everybody to know in the front of their minds that this garage is paid for. We had cash in the bank before we asked you to vote on it, and whatever we didn't have was covered by a grant from V-Trans, which is why the salt shed isn't built. So we're managing it, it's paid for. We've also got from our wonderful town clerk, from 8/20 to 11/15 this year, the town has received a quarterly check from the state of Vermont for the local option tax, and that revenue for that quarter was $227,565.37. And that's not even going to pay for the garage because that was already covered. So that's money in the bank. And we're in a very good situation financially. That's all I wanted to say. So this infrastructure development account dated December 2nd, 2019, this warrant is for the amount of $459,331.71. That's all for the garage. So with that, I'd like someone to please make a motion to approve.
What was the first one?
The first one was the impact fee account, and it was for 118 feet of sidewalk on Fairfield Street, and it was to Wright's Excavating for $7,817.50.
We had 10,000 approved, so we're good
Right.
there.
So moved.
Okay, any
I'll
second?
second it.
Any questions about them? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, so that gets rid of that, and we're gonna move on to minutes.
So I'll move we accept the minutes as printed for 11:20, which was the meeting for the budget, and 11:18 for our regular minutes.
Okay, any questions or changes anybody has? Look good to me. Any seconds?
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 All right, agenda item number 4 is public comment. Is anybody here to make a public comment right now? And you can, there's a couple different, agenda item 5 is a proposed St. Albans community pool, and agenda item number 6 is a bicycle and pedestrian infrastructure impact fee ordinance. And I think at the end of both of those agenda items, I'm going to allow for some public comment.
You can always do it.
Right, so just if you're here for that and you'd like to make a comment, it's fine. You don't have to do it now. So seeing no hands go up at this point in time, we're gonna move on to agenda item 5, which is the proposed St. Albans community pool. And this is really a public comment section, a chance for anybody to ask questions, a chance for the board to say how they might feel about it. It's just an open agenda item dedicated to the pool. Does anybody want to lead off on how they feel about it, or does anybody from the?
I just want to, I passed out a frequently asked questions, 6 of, I think, the most common questions we get. We're going to put that on our website and Facebook. It ranges from what's wrong with the current pool, and it goes on to explain briefly that it's beyond its useful life. The second question is, what's a zero entry area? Why do we need it? It goes on to explain it's easier for younger people and anyone with challenges and needing a more gentle,
Right.
safer entry into the pool. The third is,
You can say it, older people.
it's not older actually,
Well, it was
it's
for younger
everyone.
people too,
I know that.
It's anyone who just doesn't want to just dive right into a pool, really.
right?
It's safer. And then the third one is how much does it cost? Fourth is how does
Well,
the,
let's talk about that for a second.
okay,
So the total project cost is $5.5 million. That's what it's gonna cost to do all this site work. So what this includes that I think is beneficial to the town, more so than the city, or both really, it includes moving the main access road into Hardak from over by the dog park way up by 104, tight to that intersection, and moving it back further down Congress, which would be a pretty noticeable improvement to that area. And then it also includes extending the sidewalk from the top of Congress down into Hardak to the new lodge and pool. The lodge will be built regardless, even if this measure fails. And we have that, just the sidewalk extensions, we have that, and I just pulled it up in our bicycle and pedestrian master plan. And Congress Street is actually our top-ranked priority in the plan, and the cost of it, it's one of our top-ranking priorities. And the estimated low cost of it was $165,000, estimated high cost $400,000, with an average of $282,500. So if you were to take the low, $165,000 of what we're paying for is essentially the sidewalk. I mean, it's a priority that we already had lined up, so that's kind of a little bit of a cherry on top for us. I think personally, as long as we're having a discussion about how we feel, I like the idea of asking the voters about the pool, because none of us as elected officials have had a chance to have a discussion going door to door or with very many people over community amenities like a pool. We've never had that discussion in St. Albans Town because we've always been so driven to this building and the DPW garage. So it'll be interesting to see how people vote. That's how I feel.
Well, I can tell you right up front, I do not support this. 5 weeks ago, we got a city group in here, And we pushed aside the stuff that we need to do in this town. French Hill, we're still searching for money to fix a dangerous situation, a safety situation. We didn't find the money this summer. We thought we would get it done. It needs to be done. We don't have the money, but we can do 2.75 million. I don't believe that. We talked in 2017, I wasn't on the board, about redoing our dock.
To the tune of over $1 million to raise it.
But we're giving away 2.75 million.
I don't know that we're giving it away.
We're not having it for the plans that we had in St. Albans town.
I just don't know, and I've had that debate with myself, and I just don't know that the two,
I'm not here to argue with you.
No, no.
I'm stating my position.
just don't know that they're connected. I don't.
Well, when I postpone doing stuff in town to give money away, it's connected.
Well, I don't know that we're postponing anything. And
Well, why
For
didn't
the
we do
pool.
with the Bay Dock?
Why
Why, we
didn't-
got 500,000 to put in the stone house.
So,
Right, we got sidewalks, we got a Mr. Martin that sent a letter out this week saying how dangerous it was to walk down Fairfax Street because all the kids going to sporting complexes and bike riding. There's a lot of other things that this money could be used for. Like I told the city people when they were here, I got 14 miles of coastline, 2 public beaches that I operate. Public goes free. Now we're going to give 2.75 and the people families will pay the family fee to get in. Right?
well, they have a fee schedule. for sure,
Right.
To cover the
So-
operating expenses.
Well, I'm not supporting it. And those are some of the reasons. There's many more.
Al?
I do support it, and I support it for a number of reasons. The first most is that half the children that are using the city pool are from the town, and that will, I'm sure, stay as in the future.
Probably more.
The second thing is the pool is year-round with that dome, so that it gives it a lot more exposure, a lot more opportunity for the children who like to swim in swimming teams, and also for adults to maintain a good health and healthiness. The 2.75 million, whatever it is we will own the pool, half the pool for that, and in return, the city will also maintain the pool for us at no additional cost. But all our citizens gain the same cost entrance fees as city residents. Fourth, to me, it's a major partnership issue between the city and the town, that we have to work more cooperatively with them. This is an opportunity to demonstrate that and for our citizens to recreate together, both young and old, to build that sense of community. Fifth, I do think it has an economic value in terms of the town being seen as a recreation facility that will be attractive to potential businesses coming into town, or people wishing to settle here because of the recreational opportunities. All focused at Hardack. And so those are the major things. Let me just address the Fairfax issue. We've talked Fairfax Street many, many times, and the engineers have all told us, because of the right-of-way and the closeness of the houses and the cemetery, that it's very, very difficult and take multi-million dollars to fix that path between Main Street and 105, 104. So I understand where Stan's coming from in terms of children walking there and so forth. But by the same token, the pool takes the kids off the streets during the summer and winter if they want to swim, and also if they want to ski. And our long-range goal is to build a sidewalk that goes parallels 104 from the Collins Furley all the way over to Hardack. So to me, as long-range planning, it's got phenomenal benefits for the town in particular, and the city also.
Yeah, and I would add, I'm also for the pool. I've spent a lot of time at the pool with swim lessons because we live on the lake. I think it's important for kids growing up here to learn how to swim. and the instructors there are top-notch. And as far as the economics, the pool offers scholarships to families who can't afford the prices. The Chauncey Werner Foundation is very generous to kids trying to seek out recreational opportunities. There's also free passes for the pool at every library in all of the towns in Franklin County, so a whole family can check it out and go to the pool for free.
And the rec department provides lunches to under.
Yes, yeah. So it's also a free meal site, so you'll see kids go there in the summer to swim and they get a free meal. The staff who are working there, the college kids and the teenagers are always so good. I mean, some of the best kids work there all summer long. They're such good role models for kids who might not have it. Their parent might be working during the day and they'd just be hanging out at home. Chief Kelly Viens told us that the chief of police notices when the pool's closed because he's called for a lot more incidences around town. I just think if we are talking about our community and putting things in place for prevention, a key part of that is giving the kids a place to go in the summer that's safe, that's going to be have good role models for them. And this isn't just the summer, this is now going to be all year round. To me, it's a huge economic development asset. It's good for our community. It's good to drive business here and, hopefully build up our tax base a little bit.
Right. Right. Now, I'm gonna say that when I first ran for the select board, I was pretty concerned at the fact that all we really had for low-cost recreation opportunities for seniors in particular were walking in the Highgate Commons. And I get mall walking has been a long-standing acceptable form of exercise, but that's not mall walking. It's kind of shameful that we live in a town with $1 billion grand list and our seniors have to walk in what our vice chair would call somewhat of a rundown shopping center. I don't like it. We've got a plan that we're going to hopefully present to the voters that'll unrestrict the LOT revenue and outline some key cost centers for that revenue to support, including fire trucks, plow trucks, sidewalks, our parks, and $250,000 a year to pay for a new town hall. Plus we have 7 figures in the bank that we'll be able to rely on as a reserve that we could decide to put a chunk of down on a new town hall. And I get, Stan, I get your point, the Stone House. I'd love to dump $500,000 into the Stone House. You say the word and I'm there. The very last meeting or meeting before that we had, I had asked to spend the 100-something thousand in the bank as fast as we could so we could keep going. And the consensus was to keep going slow. And then the dock, I was on the board and Bruce was chair and I sat there and we got the estimates from, oh God, what was the engineering company? Knights. And the gentleman did an excellent job. I mean, he told us how many millimeters the sheathing was around. I mean, it was pretty great work. And the cost of raising that dock and shoring it up was exorbitant. And at the time we said, we can't do it. But Alan's invested a little bit of money out of his budget, and we've got a wonderful parklet that people use in the summer now. That's something.
You don't have to prove anything to me. What we've done good. I'd like to do more in
Me
the
too.
town. In the town, that's where
Well,
I would
Hardak
like
is
to
in the
do
town.
it.
Hardak is in the
You're
town.
not,
I mean, it'll serve
Everything you
Eastview,
said
Hill
was-
Farm.
great. It pertained to the town.
And then something that the city would also want us to point out as part of talking about the pool is that this $5.5 million and their operating budget that they base their fees off of will include running what they have dubbed an aqua van, which would be a larger passenger van that the rec department would run to pick up children and their bicycles potentially all over St. Albans to bring them to and from the pool. A big part of why a lot of folks, especially in the city, were concerned about locating a pool at Hardak was the underserved youth that tend to go to the pool in the summer months. But now we'll have a year-round pool with transportation. So I think it's more of a plus. We spend, Al?
I just want to reemphasize the year-round pool. When I was at the hospital last week, several people mentioned the fact that they thought this money was being spent only for a 6 to 8 week summer session.
Right.
So the pool is now will be year-round if it's voter approved.
It'll be open in the summer, completely open
Open, right.
to the sky, and then it'll have an inflatable dome, which the city would coordinate putting up, and it'd have lights inside, the whole 9 yards, and the water and the air would be heated. I mean, it's a pretty good proposal, and I support bringing it to the voters, because yes, it's $5.5 million split two ways, which is still $2.75 million. It's a lot of money. When, we had to go to the voters twice for a garage. It's a lot of money for a pool. But when in our town's history into the future, especially, will we ever get an opportunity to own a municipal pool at Hardack, which is a property that we already should have an ownership interest, and I don't know what happened there, but we should already have an ownership interest in Hardack. It will give us one. 50% of this pool, even if it's a condo lot, it's 50% of the pool at Hardack, plus rights to the road, and it's in the town, and it's for 50 cents on the dollar.
And can I also add, when you talk about that money, divide it by 50 years, and that's your actual annual cost.
Well, probably 20 or 30, given
Well,
that
that's
it's
for the
got a
bond,
lifespan.
for the bond. But the depreciation of the pool over 50 years, divide that into your capital costs, and you're getting, in my opinion, a bargain.
It
Well,
depends.
it's
I mean,
worth clarifying too, because when you show up at the pool, the town residents are charged the same as the city. So to your point that we'll now have the same rate. So if you're someone showing up at the pool, you might not notice that difference, but the town is reimbursing the city for the
Right.
difference in fees right now.
So we would save a fraction of what we pay the rec department, but, yeah, I mean, it's something, it's a big lift,
Do you want to open that?
right? Does anybody want to make a comment on the pool? Is there anybody here for the pool?
I'm here for the pool, but I don't know enough about it yet.
No? Here, I've got a one-pager. We're gonna give it to you before you leave today.
There's some out there, too.
Frequently
There's some
asked
copies.
questions. And
Who owns Hardat now?
the city owns it, and they have an agreement with the Hardack Board of Trustees. There's a kind of a power sharing situation up
Yeah,
there.
there's it's basically a three-phase structure to operate the Hardack. The city council, City of St. Albans owns the land. When the Hardack Corporation merged or sold the land to the city, they created a committee called the Epicenter. And the Epicenter is a board of, I'm not sure how many people, at least 7 or 8, that to look at options to how to use Hardack, what the cost might be to implement those ideas, and then they formalize a plan and send it up to the city council, the city manager, then to the town alderman to decide whether or not that's worthwhile to move forward. Then the additional thing is the Epicenter Committee set up a separate group, basically at the request of SASHA, the Skating Association of St. Albans, to look at what to do about having more ice time available, i.e. building another ice ring. And that brought in other people, sports people that wanted an indoor type of facility that could be combined with the ice ring. So that's an adjunct to the Epicenter, and the Epicenter is a advisory group to the Board of Aldermen. But the Epicenter has 2 representatives from the town, Bruce Cheeseman and myself.
Right from the horse's mouth. Any other questions? Seriously, that's what we're here for.
We have a site plan too,
Yeah, we do.
up there if you'd like to look at it
If
at
anybody
some
wants a
point.
digital copy of any of the renderings or the proposed site plan, reach out to the town manager and we'd be happy to make that available. Alan?
I just have a couple things, and this is not for my position, but as a taxpayer.
Yeah?
You got Brandon's pools in
Can't
town.
do that.
Here, come on up, Alan. Would you
He's a
mind?
taxpayer, he's employed by the town. It's really a conflict. I wouldn't want to call this. He's done it multiple times now.
Preface that one more time and then
I
think
don't
about
think you
it
can
clearly.
preface it. I think you can't have both, but, well, we've let you do it in the past. I think you can be one or the other. I think you can be an employee and you can be I am a taxpayer as well, but I don't speak my own opinion here for that reason, so you,
well.
please be brief, because I think you have a distinct advantage over a lot of people, so.
Well, certain concerns is, you got Brandon's pools that is open year round. You go there in the middle of the winter and it's not busy. So we're going to bring in another pool into the community, which I don't think is going to be sustainable to keep itself running. The other thing I'm concerned about is it's nice to be a partnership and own it, but I'd want to be part of the maintenance of it because I don't want that responsibility put on someone else if it's our money being spent.
So that was a double-edged sword right there. We don't want the maintenance cost if it loses money in a year, but we also want to be involved with the maintenance.
Well, we
which would
could
cost
still
money.
be informed of maintenance
Oh, yeah, I mean, you can
plans.
be informed of the maintenance plans. I mean, that's, if this passed, there'd be an agreement to be worked out. I mean, that would be part of it, I'm sure.
I'm all for community action, you guys know that. I just feel a year-round pool is over the top. I think you talk about the college kids, and they do have great kids. I used to work for the city and I've seen the employees. They do a great job, but those kids go back to college. So now you're putting on more staffing that's got to get paid. I know that's probably on the city, but you got to look at the big picture. There's a lot of money involved here.
But it's not,
It's,
I understand it, but when you're a town voter and you're looking at it, the agreement in place is, we pay for half of the principal and any interest we incur as part of that. Anything after the fact is on the city. So that's a discussion that their voters have to have with their city council. I mean, I can't control that. We made a deal, whether it's a sweetheart deal for our side or not, I mean, that's one thing versus another, but
And there are communities of our size who have really thriving indoor pools. I mean, Brandon's is great, but as a family, it's really cost prohibitive. It costs $75 for my whole family to swim there, and I know the rec department has their family membership. And they'll do all sorts of tot swims and team swims, and there could be an indoor swim team over the winter. There's just so much potential that Brandon's, I think, caters more to the lap swimmers, whereas the rec department is really gonna cater to the whole community.
we have to have something for seniors to do that's not walking around a shopping center. And if we're gonna spend $115,000 a year on drug prevention with police, that should be followed up with some type of a measure to give kids an opportunity to do something that's not sit around at home all day and potentially pick up a drug habit. That's the other part of it. We keep talking about spending money.
I don't know how you relate that.
What would happen?
Drug problems and swimming, let's keep that's a separate
They're
issue.
It's
not. They're
though.
not at all.
It's not.
They're not separate.
It's a matter of being bored, nothing else to do. The vaping starts it, it's ongoing.
Prevention starts when you're young,
With the family,
and the community,
You
with the
have,
family.
and what the community can put in place to support that child.
right. And you can't, is a pool gonna stop people from being addicted to drugs directly?
No.
I don't know, probably not. But it's another avenue.
You just look at, there's other models around the country and around the world where communities have really invested in these, family education and different activities for kids to do, really enhancing after-school programming, and they've seen a major decrease in their addiction rates.
I believe that part, but don't say it's just the pool.
No,
No, it's a
it's
whole
part of it.
thing, but we have to play our
All
part.
right, that's a small part.
Well, I don't know about a small part, it's a part. I mean,
Now, let's not go in down there. We could spend all night on that.
well, I probably could, yeah. I mean,
We can't control everything, but this is one thing we could do.
Absolutely cannot.
but, again, so, does anybody have anything they'd like to add? I'm sure it'll be on another agenda soon. Thank you, Alan.
Yep.
Taxpayer, Alan Matchchair. So with that, we're gonna move on to agenda item number 6. We're gonna welcome our Swiss Army knife of zoning. Is that what I dubbed you the last time you were here? A couple of times ago?
I think that's a positive.
It is.
Well, let's just call her Becky for now.
Every,
I think she prefers that.
Becky Perrin, our zoning administrator,
And this is
now
on
and
the
forever.
bicycle and pedestrian infrastructure impact fee ordinance. Portion of our agenda.
So I gave you guys all a packet with some examples of some of the sidewalk issues that I had been seeing with the impact fees. Not sure if you've had a chance to look at those yet.
Should have. They all got them in their packets last week.
Yes, I wasn't saying they weren't in there.
No, I mean, but you can assume that most people do
Yeah.
homework.
We're here,
Okay.
yeah.
Did you have questions, specific questions for me? I think
So
Al
I
may.
guess, so what we usually try to do, since the public is watching, is frame it up. Why are we here and why is it on the agenda? So
Okay.
it's on the agenda, briefly because you found some challenges trying to implement the ordinance. And after talking to the planning commission and myself and Ned, anyway, I don't think you went to a planning commission meeting, but there was some unintended consequences, we felt. Some things that were being caught in the net that maybe it was too wide. Is that
Yes.
a fair
Yes.
assessment? And we do have somebody from the planning commission here too that can answer
Oh.
questions if she'd like, or if she just wants to listen, that's fine too. So that's why we're here and then why it's on the agenda.
Right.
So when I look at the existing regulation, or the existing ordinance,
Yes.
it allows for the select board to review and revise as needed. Why do you want to have this repealed and a new one put in place?
It says that you may review and revise. Yes, you're right. I think that the planning commission probably wanted a chance to fix some of these issues. I can't really
Aaron,
speak
you-
for the planning commission.
Well,
but maybe Aaron-
initially,
Go ahead.
initially, it was because it was our legal counsel's recommendation.
Right.
I mean, it's as simple as that. It's not, you can't get into all the details, but he said, I think the easiest way to do this and the best way to do it,
Yes.
best practice, would be to do it this way. That's why we chose to do it that way.
I don't
While
understand.
you're,
though.
because while you're revising this, that means that every permit application, every subdivision application I receive is subject to this ordinance. This, if you choose to look at this regulation and change it yourselves
Mhm.
without rescinding it, from the time you start until the time you finish, people are paying these impact fees.
And if we rescind it, they're not paying the impact fees at all.
Exactly.
In other words, they get away with it until,
I'm not sure it's getting
I don't know
away
if
with
it's getting away
anything
with it.
because.
well, you got two
I think-
applications now that are not going to withdraw it, right?
Oh,
If
they will. They will
They'll
not
withdraw
pay
it under the
this.
existing regulation, but as soon as we withdraw it, they'll get their application fee, they'll get their fees in to go ahead and build. So we will lose whatever you want for this new ordinance.
They're gonna not put their
They're
application in
not
anyway.
going to.
We're not gonna get any
They
money.
will withdraw.
Pardon?
They will not apply under this.
I know, but if we withdraw it, they
Yes.
will apply.
Right, which is
probably
what you
will.
want, because it'll grow your tax base.
No, we
Wait a
still
minute.
want some of the impact fees.
We want some of the
We'd
impact
rather
fees
have the whole
for the sidewalks.
I understand that. We've been discussing sidewalks for years. This is just my feeling. I feel that we should get this right before it's implemented. That's what I discussed with the town attorney. Rather than having you look at this and taking a few months to change it and stopping development for those few months, because people will not apply.
Right.
So how long will it take you and the attorney to bring forth a brand-new,
It would be the
I
planning
will not.
commission.
pardon?
It's
I
the
will
planning
not.
commission that would do that.
Well, how long will it take the planning commission?
When I spoke with Ned, he said that they had already had discussions, brief discussions about it, and that it was going on the next agenda, but that it could take 3 or 4 meetings to make sure that this is correct.
Could be March,
Could be.
could be March.
Why March?
It probably will be sooner,
6
but
months, 6 weeks, right?
But you want to be very careful in writing this regulation so that this does not have to happen again.
Right.
Yeah, because that's the question, is how did that happen? How come nobody picked up on it?
It's very difficult to
I
write
did.
these.
I did. I voted against it because
No,
I
no,
said
you
this was
didn't
gonna
pick
be a
up on
problem.
it.
What you
That wasn't
picked
to
up.
pick up on.
Because some of these, it seems like they're almost getting double charged.
They are.
Right.
Correct.
So, I mean, that's one correction, and then looking at the rural district, it seems to be overcharging as well. Like maybe we should be looking at it per lot fee instead of frontage or something like
I think there's a
that.
lot that needs to be looked at in this ordinance in order for it to be more in line with what you were looking for. I don't think that this ordinance is in line with what you were looking for. Yes, you're looking for a sidewalk ordinance. And having this ordinance is a great thing, but not when it's going to stop development in town. You're not gonna be collecting fees if someone who has 500 feet of road frontage in the rural district has to pay $24,000 to build a single-family home.
Mhm.
They just won't build here.
So if we, as a select board, revise the fees on an interim basis, so that gives you the 6 weeks you need to come forth with a new ordinance, what's wrong with that?
Need a
I
hearing.
believe you need a public hearing. You need to decide what
Well,
those
it's only
fees
2 weeks.
are. It is an impact fee. I believe there may be some studies involved. Aaron, do you have any?
Around the impact fees?
Yeah.
I wouldn't think for this.
I think that
Okay.
they're, I'm not sure.
It's whatever we set
I think,
for this one. Whether or not it should have had studies accompanying it
No,
or
this,
not, I don't know.
we're not, no, let's
Okay.
not start going down that road. I mean, it was an ordinance that we were legally able to approve. We had the attorney approve it. We didn't do anything wrong, and the way to approve another ordinance is to approve it at a properly warned hearing. I mean, a properly warned select board meeting, which could be this evening,
Right.
but it takes 60 days for it to become final. So nothing is quick.
I want to paint a picture for everyone. As a builder, I don't build homes, I don't frame, and I do very simple foundations. But I can tell you, in the next 2 weeks, people need to get their foundations in the ground, or they're going to be in a nightmare situation for the winter. These are people who need to build a house themselves and sell it to feed their families for the spring and the rest of this winter. And we've got this ordinance in place that, due to our human error, no real fault really, it's just an error, has created a situation which doesn't allow for these folks to do something that they've been doing for decades, and essentially feed their kids. So we made the boo-boo by creating this situation, and the only correct way forward, in my opinion, right now, to be fair to the folks that are way more financially involved in this than we ever would hope to be, the only fair thing to do would be to rescind or repeal, allow the planning commission to make some common sense corrections, and get it right the second time. And if we lose a little bit of money that we would have collected by just making some minor amendments and keeping the thing active on an interim basis, I say, we had how many years in the history of our town that we didn't collect a sidewalk impact fee ordinance? And we can go another few months if it means we're gonna do right by people. That's my opinion.
So when we stop this impact fee, is it just for sidewalks that we're stopping, or is it
Yeah.
for total?
it's just the sidewalk ordinance.
It's
Just
just a
the
sidewalk
sidewalk.
ordinance,
It's
right?
just
But the whole
ordinance.
sidewalk ordinance would be temporarily repealed.
Right, I understand that.
Right.
Can we-
Yeah, I think we're improperly calling it an impact
But we
fee.
would wait probably 6 weeks, then we do 60 days before.
You and I are old enough to know nothing works that fast.
Well, especially,
Yes, things
Well,
work a lot faster than that. You saw it tonight.
Is it possible to do
Item
like?
5, you saw it.
Is
5
it-
weeks.
Is it possible to do some sort of amendment tonight saying,
We
like,
don't-
we would cap impact fees at this amount?
There's no.
and that's
No.
still gonna
No.
take 60 days to become final, so you haven't saved any.
That's
And there's
fine.
no,
That's fine.
there's just no time for us to come up with that, to have a really thought out discussion on what the caps should be. If it should be per lot, how much that should be, how do we justify it?
Yeah, I just would hate to see the residential zones, like this one subdivision with the 6 lots. It would be nice to have sidewalk in there.
Well, it used to be, back
Which-
well before my time, that a municipality would come in and build a road and pave it and put in a sidewalk, and the gas company would come in, put a line in, and the electric utility would put their poles in, and then incentivize people to build. Now you've got builders, you gotta pay, it changed from, we're not gonna build your road, you're gonna build a road, it's A76 less paving, so there's stone roads all over. Then a lot of towns added paving, most towns have by now. There's a couple holdouts, maybe Sheldon, a couple small ones.
And us.
And then you've got sidewalks now on top of it. And the electric utilities are at a huge cost. I mean, it's all to the point now where, but it's not a St. Albans town problem. It's a state of Vermont problem. But we gotta do the right thing by our people by not creating an environment that stops their ability to work. That's where I'm at.
What's the range of these, price range of these houses we're talking about?
The
It
fee's
can
the
be
same,
any-
whether it's.
Right, the fee can be, the
Well,
the
it
fee
would
is
make
the
a difference to
same.
me whether it's low income or outrageous income.
The
I
point
don't
is,
think I can answer
it doesn't,
question.
at our
because we
level,
don't
it
do
doesn't
our-
matter.
We don't
Because
do our
I could
estimates
put-
that way.
I could put I could do $150,000 package on a on a 10-acre lot in the town with 500 feet of road frontage and and on the
That's
same
not
lot,
my
I could do a
point. You're missing my
500,000.
point.
The fee's the same no
Are
matter
we-
what.
I'm not arguing the fees. If the people are building million-dollar houses, they can afford the fees. If the people are low income and this is affordable housing, then they can't. And
I
that's why
can-
I'm asking what the development is that's been proposed.
Al, I think I can answer one of those questions. I won't be able to give you an amount, but I do know that one of these examples, they have a garage on the site. They only plan on putting a home above the garage.
Yeah,
That is not an
Right,
expensive.
the mother-in-law
yeah.
apartment, I understand fully, should be
Oh.
exempt to begin with.
But they're
That's a whole
not,
other
those things
discussion.
aren't exempt, you know?
Right.
We have,
But a lot of these are not, they're not mansions that we're talking about.
they're
not-
$300,000,
this is not-
$400,000 houses. They're the
These
backbone
ex-
of the town.
These examples are not
Right.
huge
No,
developments,
they're not big houses.
no.
We have
They're
a,
on
we have a
1 acre
local
lots.
builder developer here, Andy Bishard from Northeastern Contracting. Andy, you're in one of these situations. Would you be willing to come up and kind of speak on it and what it means to you?
Sure, absolutely.
Now come on up and you sit right next to Becky if that works for you.
Andy, by the way, is one of the examples.
Yes.
Which one?
The
A two-lot
Ouellette Drive.
subdivision.
Okay.
I just got, trying to do a two-lot subdivision, and, we thought it was gonna be simple. We've done it before, a couple years ago. It was gonna, not have to go in front of the DRB or anything. Becky can just do a simple two-lot subdivision. And, so we're getting ready to do it right here before the winter. This came on, I think we applied November 5th. This came into effect, I think, November
The third.
3rd. And, it's gonna cost us $40,000 by the time we're done to do a two-lot subdivision. $270,000 house,
Okay.
you know what I mean? So it's gonna, I'm gonna have to send guys home, for the winter, because that just shot our plans right down,
Yeah, no, your housing to me is in the affordable range.
right?
So for me,
I mean,
that's
there's not
fine.
a lot of
I wouldn't
$1
want to
million.
add $20,000 to that price, put it that way.
Yeah, you couldn't justify it with the appraisals, you know what I mean?
Right,
That
right.
you couldn't even sell it because it would put our appraisal, the appraisal wouldn't even cover it, so
Right.
you wouldn't even be able to sell it.
Right,
The
that's,
banks wouldn't
that's
finance
helpful
it.
information to me.
And that's when I come in and say, you've got a builder Y, let's call him, who's got a house that would be 270 without the ordinance that we effectively made 290, so that you pass the cost along like we all talked about. And then builder Z, let's call him me, can go build the same exact house on the same exact lot, probably for a little less money because there are a lot of towns with no impact fees, period. But you take that out of play, I can sell it at 270 and essentially slash Andy's price, and then he's got a house sitting on the market that he's paying interest on in the whole 9 yards and trying to keep open for an entire winter.
Yeah, well, part of the problem with this example is the double. I mean, he's being hit with a fee
And
once
then-
the subdivision becomes valid, and then just for the other permit, so
Again,
it's,
for the building permit,
yeah,
right?
so it's doubled.
Right,
And then if we reduce the rule to like a lot rather than frontage, I mean, that would take it down. pretty good.
right. But, and then it's the fact of doing it this time of year, like Brendan said, this is the time when we gotta get our concrete in, or we're out of work for the winter. We're gonna send our whole business right home for the winter, so it's really a bad time to get hit with something like this, for sure. Not being able to, I guess it's my
So if
own
it
fault
gets
for not.
rescinded tonight, it takes effect immediately?
you have 60 days. You can, I believe at the back of my memo to you, I did have a suggestion that you suspend the collection of those sidewalk fees during that 60-day period and allow the planning commission to work on making some of the fixes like you were talking about.
Well, why don't we do that?
Yeah.
You okay?
Let me just clarify it. If we can suspend the fees, why do we have to suspend the whole, why do we have to get rid of the whole, don't tell me the lawyers. Why do we have to get rid of the whole ordinance?
I guess I can't answer that either because I was going to tell you the lawyers.
Well, then, next time you
No,
come before us, bring the, so to speak, the blankety blank lawyers.
Erin, would you be willing to share what you guys are thinking of changing?
I'm not sure they've even
Oh,
heard
how do you
enough
know
to
that?
do that.
Yeah, we've only started conversations
Yeah.
around
Right.
it and talked about a lot of different options, but mostly we just want to have an opportunity to get it right, because when we heard about these examples, we went, oh, that wasn't our intent. So we want to make sure that it is fostering growth within the community and building those sidewalks as well, so without hurting folks, so.
Andy, let me ask, if you don't mind, you don't have to say. If we do this tonight, and we get rid of this, and as of tomorrow morning, you can go in and get your 2-lot subdivision, can you take off as planned, or is this plan shot to hell?
No, I mean, if we get in, it's just starting to get cold, so, I mean, we still have time to do it if it's
So it's
if
a
it's
now or
right
never
off.
kind of thing?
It's a now or never thing, yeah. Another couple of weeks and it's gonna be too cold to put concrete in the ground. It'll be too expensive to.
Well, I'm just
so-
glad hearing that it doesn't, we can make the correction tonight and it doesn't permanently harm anybody,
Right.
that we know of.
I'm for that. What annoys me that, to no end, is the fact that with all the advice and consultants we have, nobody saw this coming down the line. Nobody double-checked the language in the ordinance. And why should I trust the next ordinance that comes to us? We are basically past things relying on the advice of others. We don't go into the details of each word and all that. And so how are we going to be assured this next ordinance doesn't get us into worse trouble?
Well, I would
Now,
say.
wait a minute, let me not finished yet. So I went on to the Complete Street Policy published by some national organization. And so for Aaron and you, the examples for exceptions that should be followed for Federal Highway Administration is, number 2, cost of accommodation is if cost of accommodation is excessively disproportionate, there needs to be a correction. That should have happened before. You should have read this before.
Who are you talking to at this point?
Everybody that's involved in
Okay,
this,
yeah.
lawyers, and particularly the
That's fine.
goddamn
I
lawyers.
think we should take a pause, though, before you start
Right.
staring at an
Because-
employee.
No,
and
I'm
raising your
not
vo-
talking about
But
her.
you're looking right at her. It's a
Well,
little
because I'm
unnerving.
addressing her.
You're not addressing, Becky
Actually,
didn't author that.
Al,
I'm,
That's
I am,
I mean, we
this,
read it too.
I-
We didn't catch it,
Right.
Yeah.
right? So-
But I'm not a
It's a
lawyer.
human error.
but I
I'm not-
think that we're
this
not
is
getting
lies on
anywhere.
this.
All right, let's
with
come
this.
back.
Pardon?
Let's,
I don't
everybody,
think we're getting anywhere doing this. I think, Al, there's changes to the bylaws all the time. I understand, this was a big one.
This
As
makes
far
us,
as,
This
as
is
far as
big.
how
makes us
much-
look like fools.
yeah,
Well,
I'm there
I-
with you. I feel the same way. And I feel that we put a lot of people, like Andy, through a personal hell that they shouldn't have been subjected to.
I don't
And that-
disagree.
But I think we're willing to fix it at this
We're going
point,
to.
right?
And I want to say, to your concern, this ordinance is not like a normal copy and paste municipal ordinance that every town has hanging on the wall. This is a unique, I think it's well thought out. We missed a few things. And hey, I'm the one that voted against it, and I'm here saying that we can save it. So let's,
I think it's okay sometimes to make
It's
change
okay.
in progress. You try something, you gotta go back a little bit.
It happens.
Move
Stuff
forward
happens.
again.
Let's finish it up. We
Yep.
don't need to go.
okay,
Go
so
where
we,
we wanna
I just
be,
did
let's
wanna
stop.
clarify,
Go.
if we rescind it,
Mhm.
then we have the 60 days.
Yeah.
And then we just vote on it again, and then it's back in
No,
place.
No, no.
We
Okay,
rescind it and waive the fees
right.
for the 60 days.
And then
Yeah.
it just,
Then it's dead until
then
it
it
comes.
sunsets, and then you get
We
a
create a
new
new
version
one.
and you approve the new
Just like we
ordinance.
did last year.
Yes.
Okay,
The
We
planning
don't have to wait
commission,
60 days.
okay.
the planning commission will do that. I am only here bringing you these examples.
right.
And I did let Nick know today that I'm willing to go to the planning commission meetings and try to add my voice to this as well. I'm not tasked with writing
On there.
ordinances or staffing the planning commission,
Yeah.
So,
but I'm willing to do that.
Are we able to attend those meetings and put our input into them?
absolutely, they're all public.
That would be helpful,
Yes.
Very.
actually.
Yeah.
Anybody
Once
that
we
you
get
might
another
know.
version.
And I think the planning commission would love to see some public.
Andy, seriously, anybody that you might know who could be in a similar situation in town, invite them to.
Yeah.
But
I have people that I've been talking to as well, and
Anybody.
I have quite a few examples myself for the
And the planning
to
commission's
look
always looking for new members
Yes.
right now, so try to put that one out there.
It's only 2
Andy-
meetings a
Andy,
month.
remind Aaron how many kids you have in your household.
Yeah.
That's all. But we, so we need a motion to repeal the, give me the exact title.
It's on it, it's on.
It's on there, but the computer.
Well, I
screen's
don't-
on, so.
I have it memorized.
It's-
The bicycle and pedestrian infrastructure impact fee ordinance.
We need a motion to
So I move
repeal
that
that.
we repeal that ordinance as stated,
And,
and that we also waive the fees under the current plan, under the existing
for
plan.
the 60-day appeal
Suspend,
period to
right.
follow.
Falls, right.
So we'll suspend those, okay. So,
Effective
anybody have
immediately.
any other comments or questions to make? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You got some work to do.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks. Have a good rest of your night.
Thank you for
Andy.
your
Have a good
patience.
Thank you for
holiday.
coming in.
Thank you.
Sorry about that.
No, no problem. I appreciate your help.
Thank you.
Okay, so we got through another one. Agenda item number 7. Carrie?
Town
lights
manager
on.
report. We have another solar site on tap. Locating is here. We're gonna put the map up for you. You have a copy of that in your packets. Could you come forward, please?
Mr. King, nice to see you again. Good.
So, similar to what we discussed last time I was here, it's on Lower Newton Road, but closer to where the Army National Guard is. Land owned by Rouge Properties, it's part of a 100-acre parcel, similar 500 KW. This is a, conceptual plan. We did the wetlands. You can see there's a lot of wetlands right now. It's sort of a hayfield.
Could you stand on the other side of the map and point
course.
this way? Thank you. Much better.
Not a lot in that area, sort of surrounded by a lot of woods, and this land is all part of the 100 acres that is owned by that landowner. There's not a whole lot across the street as well in terms of there's sort of an existing access road and one little house down in this area here. Be a little bit of clearing proposed here, not much, and there's about 3.4 acres of upland dry out of the wetlands area. Again, this would be about 2.5 acres inside the fenced-in area. I met with the planning commission. They went through their checklist. They approved it as a preferred site. Wanted to meet, see if conceptually, the select board was supportive of it, and then of course we go into the regional planning who would want to see the full 45-day. But I didn't want to go to them without at least seeing if pending their review, you were, I could answer your questions and you all were supportive of it.
So are there other solar panels that were recently installed in the same 100-acre parcel or a different one?
Yes.
Same one?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, did you do that too?
Yes.
Okay, that was right off of the Lower Newton Road frontage?
Correct.
So is this a continuance of the same?
Nope,
No,
it's-
it's not, I understand,
No,
but
yeah,
it's
yeah.
way down.
And that's, that we should be seeing the approved permit for that fairly soon.
Constructed next year.
That's the plan.
Nice.
I mean, this, if it can go through, love to say construction next year, but realistically with the timeline for approvals, preferred, just the permitting.
You probably get your
Probably
permit this
get my
time next
permit
year.
about this time of year and just wouldn't be an ideal time to start construction. So it'd be realistically a spring 2021.
Just help me refresh, and maybe the select board more than you. I thought we were going to rely on the regional planning commission to help us make this decision first. You're not asking for a letter of approval from us now, you're just asking for our
Conceptual.
conceptual idea of where we're at?
Yeah, ideally it would be, assuming I can meet with the regional planning, they're supportive of it.
Then they come
You
back.
would then say, yeah, okay, as long as they're supportive of it, then that you would be willing to provide that joint letter of support
Okay,
from the planning commission and the select.
okay.
And I know that the regional planning, having worked with them before, they'll want to see the full 45-day, which is the site plan, a little bit an aesthetics memo, obviously the environmental memo, we're out of it. But didn't want to put all that together and go to them if you all weren't at
This
least
is a-
conceptually supportive.
A question that doesn't bear on my thoughts. Do you have a customer for this electricity?
Working with several, to sort of working through the contract process with them.
Okay, so it's basically used local?
There's potential. Tim Smith has put me in touch, or is putting me in touch with Century Arms, Bariatrics,
Yep.
Nutrition. I'm talking with them. I've been talking with Superior Ceramics. I can't guarantee it.
Oh, I know
I'd love
that,
it,
but
Nothing
just,
more than that.
it would be
but-
great if we could use it within our
Oh,
own community.
Yes, and this is one of the things with St. Albans is there is a lot of manufacturing here, so there is a lot of load, which is why those power lines are sort of in the GMP's green zone.
Right.
Suitable for more because there is so much infrastructure here.
I'm conceptually supportive.
Yeah, I am too.
Everybody?
Yes, and Mr. King has followed exactly what we requested the last time.
Correct.
So let's make it easy. Last time we had him come back, there's no need to,
As soon as you get a 45-day
You're
letter.
incredibly nice, reasonable group of people to stand in front of, so I don't mind coming back.
We don't get that all the
Whatever
time.
works for you all.
no, the last time I know we sent you away and you had to come back, and this
We're
time,
working through your process.
followed
totally
what-
understood.
Yeah, I guess that's fine, because
you
if the
did, he's
regional.
following exactly
yeah,
what you're
if the R-
planning.
Yeah, if the RPC said no,
Yes,
Then that would,
we would just, it would die.
yes, exactly.
well, it would die, yeah, because it would die anyway.
Right.
So,
Yes.
you get the RPC to sign off, I think we're there,
Okay,
just as discussed.
that's all I can ask.
Well, thank you for coming in.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you.
And very nice to see that last decision you made, by the way. Nice to see things work the way they should.
Well, thank you, I appreciate it.
Thank you, have a good night.
Carrie, back to you
Um,
with the weather. Sun tomorrow, 75?
Why, we missed those two storms. Am I ever played?
oh, I know, right? So the second item on here was really just could have been under schedule, but we talked about this briefly on a number of occasions, studying that transition or the evaluation of whether or not to take over a state road as a town road, as a class 1 town road. And I think it's gonna be, we need a work session. It's more than a 5 or 10 minute conversation at a select board meeting.
You need to come up with a wish list, essentially.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if, in January, around the 13th, I think it is, the second week, when we have a final budget discussion, maybe we should spend a good, hour talking about this topic. Just want to make sure you're all available. Because our priority in January is to get the budget settled and the town meeting day questions settled, and then we're
Would
gonna
it?
move on to this. So,
I've read the white papers,
Yeah.
yes.
and really what I'm looking for is the pros and cons, and how many hours will we spend, The last time David was here, whatever his last name was.
Jim Coda? David
If
Blackburn.
it's gonna increase headcount, then not to do it, is what he told us. So that's another thing I'd like to look at, how many hours are we gonna put in? And it is in an MS4 area.
Mhm.
So how much MS4 work do we have to add? That has to be in your pros and cons.
Yeah.
The Sash Highway, if we gotta put a light or 2 lights in, we need that.
They need to do that ahead of time.
Huh?
They would need to do that for us.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
because I don't want the taxpayers in town.
Then I can think of a 10-foot wide something or other that I would also probably want.
So there's a lot of work, so you schedule it when you want the board to listen, but it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
You think it's worthwhile to dive in and do it?
Well, we've talked about it enough, and it's always been the same. What are the pros and cons? So
So-
if we're gonna get that, I think maybe Sash is federal highway?
It's both, yeah.
So
I think ideally we should look at the Lake Street and use the sash, still talk about it, but that's not something that's gonna happen right off.
Right.
And I believe the only thing you needed for Jim Cota was a letter of intent that we're interested, and then it goes to the state. We don't have to have all the negotiations, I don't believe.
Well, he said we had to get the letter in by a certain date in December. We're already there.
Exactly.
So I'm thinking,
We have to have the negotiations first, though.
well, he said, when he was here, he did say, get a letter in and then we can figure it out, make it vague. That's kind of the message that I got from him. But he said,
Yeah.
get it in December and then we can talk. And that opens the avenue to talking. So I don't know if it's something that has to happen as a precursor to getting to the negotiating phase. I don't know if you can go through that first and then send them in your letter this time next year, because it's gonna be a slow-moving process regardless. I mean, I would think. But it's probably something they'll move quickly on because they wanna shed the road, especially Lake Road, I would assume. So, maybe it's,
How many feet or quarter of a mile or half a mile is Sash? This is 2.7.
Yeah, this is 2.7. I'm not sure about the sash. I didn't really look into the sash too much, to be honest. I do know with Lake Road, there are catch basins up and around the VFW. About 3 or 4 years ago, they upgraded all the catch basins and culverts. I haven't got a street light count yet, but obviously there are cross culverts and stuff.
So I guess I agree with Alan, we should probably separate these two, but before we send a letter to V-Trans, is there consensus that we're serious about looking at Lake Road? I don't wanna send them a letter unless, because that starts, albeit a small ball rolling, it's gonna start it rolling, and if there's consensus, we can try to get it in, this week. But if there isn't.
if it's only a precursor, I say do it if it's necessary to start negotiating. If we can start negotiating without it and just work on it next year, I say, what's the point? Because we're not gonna be able to send them a full-blown,
Right, which is why I
right,
thought you needed that.
what do you,
Well, the problems that we're addressing are the corner down here, four-way stop,
or whatever.
parking along the, going north towards the Bay Park.
Mhm.
And anything else going east,
MS4,
and
whatever.
it's four.
And
So,
that's gonna take, you might need a consultant to tell you we might need a third party to go and evaluate that section of the road.
so
I don't know what that ends up being. I don't know if that's something Alan can do with what he knows,
When we're
or,
negotiating, they do it.
But are we, I guess, do we understand enough to request that we sit down with the state, or should we do some more homework before we send that letter? I guess it's your question as well as mine. I'm for looking at it, I even tend to think we need the road. I'm
Yeah.
concerned about, well, part of what Stan's issues of costs, and also what the long range, again, back to the 50-year model, of what it means for the town.
right,
Yeah, I don't have a clear understanding of the cons.
yeah.
Right.
It seemed like there were a lot of pros, but I'm sure there's some negatives too.
Well, the cons
Just to
he's
have it all laid
mentioned.
out.
The bigger ones are the big ticket items, like
Mhm.
bridges, culverts.
We own Black
We
Bridge
don't
already,
have
right?
those. so-
Mhm.
Yeah, so.
And
If
that
they
we
own
have
Black
to-
Bridge, I'd tell them to keep it.
That we
but-
might have to add a person, or that adding, I don't think we would, but adding a person or personnel and equipment is obviously a big con as well.
That's what
If
his
we
parting
need it.
words were. If you've gotta hire a person, it's not worth it.
But what is the incremental growth? If we hire a person, that he or she's not gonna be totally devoted to that, there'll be spare time. What's the rest of the town growth that would absorb that time over, let's say, 5 years?
Well, I mean,
I'm not
I
gonna,
know, I know.
we
I'm
can't
asking
answer
you
that tonight, and we're not.
I know, just, but that's, for me, an issue. I don't mind growth if we know it's incremental from Stan's point of view, doesn't fill the bill, but we know we're gonna grow enough to use that person in the future.
right. Well, I think it's worth having a discussion. Again, let's get back to this letter. Do we want to, I think we should do it by motion to make it clear. do we want to authorize the town manager to send a letter on behalf of the town and the select board saying?
I think you're
that-
probably gonna have to sign it, so.
Okay, well, I can do that.
Well, if I think he wanted it this week, and,
That's a one page. We can write it. The letter itself, as long as we haven't passed the deadline, we can get that done. It's whether or not the
Right.
board has consensus to do it. I don't mind coming in and signing something.
What road we talking about? Just this one?
Yes.
36?
yes.
Okay.
I mean, if we're gonna do one, I think we should include the other, because any discussion that we have, we can have about, I don't know.
I think the other one is going to eat head count. I mean, you gotta keep that road bare. It's a heavy, heavy traffic.
Well, I mean, even the state of Vermont doesn't have a bare roads
There's
policy.
your incremental growth.
No, there's no growth on that. I mean, it's just,
No, in terms of employee hours.
Well, if we,
I think they're gonna
so
move at
there's a
different
leverage
speeds.
thing there.
That's
It's
right.
what might it, and I think you're right. I think the sash might be a year premature. I think we need to really figure out where we're going with the health path and what we might have to add to that road to get that to pass. And then we might have to use some leverage and figure out if it's cheaper to take the road and pay that expense or pay for the improvements. And that's where we're headed, and I think that's where we're headed. If we're ever gonna solve this Gracebrook issue and get the health path started, I think we're gonna end up having that discussion, but,
that's a separate discussion.
right,
But we
if we
can
wanna
have
have
them
it
at-
separately, that's
They can be
fine.
parallel, they just don't have to be the same letter.
Right,
Right.
I wouldn't want one to fail if the other one slowed it down anyway, it's like throwing out an anchor.
so why don't we
It should
do,
be separate.
So are you suggesting two separate letters being mailed on the same date?
I'm suggesting right now
I think we
to-
hold off on the sash, to Stan's
Correct.
point,
Okay,
just worry about Lake Road.
fine.
Does that
Or
work?
do you wanna wait until you do your pros and cons in January, then send a letter out to the
Okay.
state? After you got some feel.
But wasn't that a budget issue for him?
I don't know. I don't
I
know that
thought he
we'd
had to
have,
have this letter in so that they could start their budget planning for fiscal.
Well, the budget, as much as getting to the legislature, this
Right.
takes an act
Right.
in Montpelier, and it's not just a decision they make at the local district, so he wanted it, there's a deadline in the beginning of December.
okay, so if we're
But-
talking the legislature, that makes me think that he wanted that letter before the session so that they
Right.
could pass legislation. So we're not gonna take this road over by May. We're not gonna do it. There's no way. There's
Right.
way too many. I don't think,
I just
Alan,
felt.
do you have a point to
I felt
make?
like we were running out of time.
Jim said it's gonna be a year and a half before you took a road over.
Correct.
My suggestion is
Yeah.
if it's only a letter of intent, put the letter in. If we don't have to have the negotiations right now, get it started. Nothing says we have to take the road, even if they agree to give it to us.
I'll
At
be
least
giving-
we've got the process started. Because if you don't get it in now, you gotta wait until next December.
Well, just make sure the verbiage is right, pending ongoing negotiations,
Yeah.
pending a satisfactory arrangement. But,
Why would you wanna take a road over?
that's the, yeah, that's the
No, but is
question.
there any,
So the
advantage?
benefit would be, and this is my understanding of it, Mitch, is we wanted to do some more parking down here, so we wouldn't have to send the police down to bust up the creamy stand every time it gets busy. And it was a nightmare. And we wanted to do some improvements to the corner down there. And that turned into a curb four-way stop that I don't know would have sold very well down here, and that died on the vine. So the thought is, if they're gonna do something like that at some point anyway, in my mind, this is how we control it, and then also make them pay for it. And then when you take over a class 1 road, they give you, was it like 12, 13,000 bucks per mile per year to pay for the maintenance, and they pave it, they say on a 15 to 20 year schedule, but I think as part of our negotiations, we'd give it a 15-year deadline, and they can take that to 20 and throw it out. But, I mean, we're on a 10-year schedule now with our roads, but it's already a V-Trans road that's not gonna get touched again for another 18 years.
so we used to try to give the roads to the state.
Yeah.
The state's in the process of trying to get rid of a lot
I
of
know
the
they
roads.
do. They used to own the bridge, then they swiped that on us. Yeah.
It's- They have a 33-foot right-of-way, a 66-foot right-of-way all the way around the parking lot, so they own actually some of the parking up through. And it just opens up the availability of right-of-ways in the road for the town if we ever wanted to do anything. If we wanted a bike path to the city or sidewalk, or potentially bringing a sewer or water line down along Lake Road. The four-way intersection, the parking. I think it averaged out to be like $33,000 a year they give to the town, so every time.
Plus they pave it,
Plus they do the paving, so.
and we
that's-
get control. And then if we come in and we say, this is a plan for that intersection that we find acceptable, and it's gonna cost $400,000, pay for it, and then we'll take the road over.
The numbers
So-
work for us on that section. They seem to
They seem,
initially.
that's,
Yes.
so it's, then there's all kinds of communities, like Highgate owns a section of 78 in Class 1, if I remember correctly, and they've done some village-centered improvements to it, and it's worked out pretty well for them. But it's just a discussion at this point.
As a junction,
We
same.
drive up the
Yeah.
road already, so why not make money off of it and drop the plow?
Yes.
But, no, seriously, I hate to say that out loud, but honest to God, if we're gonna drive up and down it all the time to get to our section of the road anyway, we might as well put a plow down and make some money on it. Alan, you're right. I mean, that's a pro, but,
Mhm.
so yeah, why don't we do that in January? On a regularly scheduled meeting, I think would be.
Talk
fine.
about this in detail, but in the interim, you
Interim,
want a
yeah.
letter of intent.
Right, so
Which- Go ahead.
I'll move that we authorize the chair to sign a letter to V-Trans requesting whatever.
A letter of intent outlining that we are interested in the state-owned section of Lake Road within the town pending a satisfactory arrangement approved by the select board.
Right, that's fine.
There. Short. Does
Mm-hmm.
that work?
Yeah.
Anybody Second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Well, we can reject it anytime
Well,
once we
yeah.
get it back, so
Right.
let's see what they say, and if it
All
doesn't
right.
look good, we'll reject it.
So that's a 3-0. Like, all right, so we'll get that done. As long as, if he tells us that there was a deadline today, then,
You might just have to edit that a little.
oh, yeah,
Like tomorrow.
yeah, we can do
We'll send
that.
you a copy, you can look at it, send it back to Jen, that kind of.
Oh, we'll get it done.
Okay? And that's all I have under town manager report at this time.
Some other discussions went long, so I'm gonna forego agenda item 9 and just say kudos to the city for some great fireworks and the Festival of Trees. They do some great events in Taylor Park, and I know we've got somebody here, Alan, and then there's some pretty good people on his crew. Every year our decorating in the park gets better, and he's pretty well tied into that ongoing event scene up there, so I think we could start to do something cool in the park at some point.
Our
But,
park.
right,
Yes,
our
the
park,
Bay Park,
the
yeah.
Bay Park. And we have Bay Day, and that's awesome, but there's always room to grow. And the city did a great job. I think it's worth highlighting.
That, but I also appreciate the lights from this building to the trees in front or planter.
Yeah, and he's got trees in the park.
It's a
They look
star.
great. That's what I
Is
meant.
that
Like
what it
they're
is?
it gets better
like a
every
tree.
year.
Right.
I do have one thing under other business.
Yes.
The email that we both received earlier, I'd like to know if the town would like to join in the community food drive that's going on for Martha's Kitchen. The
Yeah.
city was planning on doing that, and they have asked a couple other municipalities if we would be willing to be a drop-off point for canned goods and non-perishable.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
Where would drop just in the vestibule here?
yeah, we'd probably have to have a bucket of some sort, but the city was gonna do it, we will do it. The PD and fire departments,
And we can put our Facebook page to work with a post or two about it.
yes,
Okay. Yeah, that just consensus you wanted on that?
that's correct.
Okay. All right. Anybody have any qualms?
No.
Is it, okay, it's weird to be an elected official in a small town. Is it okay to talk about how the community should get together and see if there's any way, or like a GoFundMe, or like a drive of some kind to support the folks who lost their house in a fire today on St. Albans Hill?
I didn't realize I did.
So there was a family on the Bellevue Carriage Road that lost their home to a structure fire today and everything in it. And there could be some ongoing efforts, like a GoFundMe page that'll make the rounds on social media.
There are 2 started already.
Yeah. So I don't know that it would be,
Is
See,
that
there's
up by
all-
the Air Force Base?
Yeah.
Up at one of
it's
those,
Sam,
Jake Smith.
yeah, it was Jake
Let's
Smith's
just say it, everyone
house.
knows it.
It was Jake Smith's house
I don't know.
It was in the
Where
paper.
do you
Sam's
live?
son
Oh, okay.
on Bellevue Carriage Road. the airport, the radar road.
Hmm.
Uh,
I saw there was a drop off at Blooming Mines for clothing.
Yes,
for the
yep,
kids.
I heard that as well.
So we've got these long-standing traditions of we go, we run the fire, we call in Red Cross when it's appropriate. I mean, the town was even up there sanding the road today so the fire apparatus could get to the
There's no other
site.
municipal function.
Right, but I'm wondering if it might make good sense, since we have a social media page with a lot of following, as a practice into the future, not for just this event, but for others, to highlight fundraisers for folks that are in a pinch with house fires or,
Sick children.
right, something severe. And maybe we talk about it here first, maybe it's just an automatic function that the staff does, I don't know where to go. But I think the town should start advocating for its people when they lose their home 3 weeks before Christmas. And I don't know, I know we haven't done it in the past, I'm wondering if we can and if the board would support some form of that, that's all.
Again, I'm for it as long as it's legal.
Right.
Right, we
And-
don't know, how do we know what's legal and what's not legal?
And how do we make the decision between
Right,
different
how do we
properties?
know from a porch burning to a whole house burning?
Well,
The
So-
fire department.
I just don't, I guess my
I don't
concern
think-
is I want to make sure we're consistent. And I
Right.
feel
Right.
really bad for that family. We don't have an employee on staff 24/7. So what if something like this happened on a Saturday afternoon and there was no response from the town? But on a Monday morning at 8 o'clock, there's a robust response from the town. I don't want someone to feel slighted. So I just want to make sure whatever you decide can be consistently applied. That's all. I don't
Just some level of vetting
Want-
the GoFundMe pages.
Right.
Yeah,
I mean, most
that-
of them are legitimate. and
Absolutely,
true
and they
tragedies,
are.
But every once in a
Yeah.
while, there's
Right.
a fraudulent one.
So I think we've mentioned that we have one, at this point in time, a person lost their home just before Christmas. And apparently there are 2 GoFundMe plans already. We've made that announcement.
yes.
Now let's think about how we do it on a, so to speak, a universal or townwide basis. But
Right.
let's not make that decision tonight.
No,
We're
no,
going
I'm
to
just saying, let's think about
advertise
it.
the existing. Right.
It's a terrible thing.
Well, you know what, I had a phone call, not about a fire, but about dedication of our town report. And they said, well, Eleanor was a long-term employee here. Maybe you guys ought to think about dedicating the book to that. And I said, well, yeah, that's a good idea. Then I was thinking about, well, we had Carol Livingston, the first female select board member. Then we had Mr. K, who was instrumental with Frank Montang getting the industrial park going, who died this year. Then we had Jimmy Brulette, who had been a long-term justice of the peace, representative, national vice commander of the American Legion, did a lot to the community. So I don't want to get in a position where you say, well, we do this one, and you get a phone call, well, that wasn't, so I
see
don't
where you're
want to
coming
head there.
We could do all 4 on one page.
Well, you know, that's what I'm saying.
I know what you're hearing.
It's-
How do you make it?
Keep out of it. Keep out of it.
So what we're talking about that, and I want us to just marinate on this other piece, because I
Yeah.
don't think it's anything that we could even solve tonight if we wanted to stay here for 5 more hours. I think it's just something that, and if the end result is we keep doing what we keep doing, at least we thought about it, that's all I'm asking. I want to talk about the honor wall. Mr. Montang, we voted to create an honor wall with pictures of folks we thought were instrumental to the town and deserved to be honored in perpetuity. The first inductee, if you will, was your father. And I'm wondering if we could ascertain a photo of Mr. Frank Montang from you at some point in the very near future to have framed to include with Steve Wexler and Eleanor.
Sure.
And then we're gonna put Alan's got some conceptual ideas to clean up the area right in front of the door. There with it's got voting boxes and some pictures now. We wanna clean it up, put some kind of museum type lighting, and then have maybe a plaque explaining what the purpose is, and then start filling it with pictures, and then if we were to remodel or relocate, we'd take it with us.
Mhm.
So we just need a photo.
Sure.
I had been working with Sam and Rachel on it, but they don't have the time right now. is one.
Surprising.
Yeah, so with you here,
Edit that, please.
Yeah.
and if you could, literally, if you can give it to Jen, that would literally
There used
be,
to be one right there for years. I almost think my mother has it. We had a big beer. It was there for a long time.
whatever you want
Yeah.
to put up as a family.
I'll get you one.
So, and while we're talking about the honor wall.
And I'm sorry, it doesn't even need to be framed. If you just get us a digital one, we can recreate it. We
Digital?
wanna get a lot of,
Whatever you have,
well, we
we'll
take
make it
pictures
work.
of it and put it in a nice frame.
Well, wait a minute here. What does that mean, digital?
No, just come in with a picture
Okay.
that makes
We
you
do a
happy.
We
picture.
can handle that.
Okay.
We can handle the rest.
And while we're talking about the honor wall, I know, I'm sorry, but I have to because I think he'd kill me if I didn't. There's a fourth inductee I want to propose. I think it's a no-brainer. I think it's only fitting that we put Bob Johnson in the honor wall as our fourth person. And if you folks have anybody who you think deserves to be included, we're gonna do it. Like Alan, we gotta do it. At some point, just come in here, knock it off, knock it out, and let's get it done. And if you need lighting, tell me. Be happy to buy it, whatever it takes. But I think Bob's service to the town is more than deserving. And if somebody would make a motion to make Bob the fourth member of the honor wall upon its completion in the next few weeks, please.
I'll do that. So I'll move that we recommend.
Why don't we wait until Bruce is here to get all five of us?
Well, we could do you want to do a 5-0 with like a symbolic fifth
Sure.
for the record? So there's consensus. So Mrs. Johnson, I don't want to put you on any hot seats. I know we talked about this before.
Any more than I already,
Can you give me a picture?
Yes,
Sure, I'll do that while I'm on vacation.
I know. I'm sorry.
I'm not gonna do it.
He would love it. He would love it.
Actually, I'm not so sure he would.
I
don't know.
I think he would like it.
I think he would be honored.
Yeah.
Right.
See it that way, he would be very honored.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Right.
That's, okay. So, any other business?
I'll move to adjourn then.
All right, I'll second it.
All in favor?
Thank you.
All right.
Aye.
Okay, thank you very much.